Rasa community, welcome to live coding this morning. Do I have my audio on? I do. Fantastic. If you're wondering how this morning, it's morning for me, is going for me, I was really confused why my camera wasn't showing up, and it's because it wasn't plugged in. So I think that bodes super well for how today is going to go. So we have been working on an assistant. How's that? So we're not eating up bandwidth. We've been working on an assistant that's designed to just answer frequently asked questions that I get. And we have been working for the past almost a month now, I guess. I do only work on this 1 hour a week, and I talk while I do it, so it's not the most efficient way of getting work done. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that particular workflow for y'all. But we have been working on deploying this frequently asked question assistant. And previously we talked about different deployment options and what we should do first. And we settled on a Rasa X server. So that means that anyone can talk to the assistant using the Rasa X interface. And the server means that someone else is hosting it and I'm not hosting it on my computer. And we are using DigitalOcean for that. So, do I have my droplet open somewhere? I don't think so. But anyway, we have our assistant up and running. Some of y'all last week were kind enough to help test it out and provide some sample conversations. And the thing that we're doing this week is, hi Amina, welcome. Enrique says, sitting in the dock of the code, indeed. Presumably to be sung to the tune of Sitting in the Dock of the Bay. The docker of the code, you could say. We're gonna be doing Docker stuff. Anyway, so in this conversation in particular, you can see that someone's asked about machine learning. And the assistant has been like, oh, you must be asking for a resource. What type of resource do you want? And then the person says, oh, I want this type of resource. And that is correctly identified. And the action query resource is detected as the correct next action, but nothing happens. And that's because the query resource action requires a separate server, an action server. And we've developed it locally. We've been working locally so far. We can actually look at the code and what it does. And basically, okay, thank you. Oh, I know why that is. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem for me in the future. The reason that is happening is because I have been messing with my local environment, which I'm doing because now we're on a server, so it shouldn't matter. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled for content that might require me to have messed with my local environment, say uninstalling and reinstalling everything soon. But what our action server does is it runs a bunch of Python code, and specifically it takes in the user's input. None of these have doc strings, I'm just realizing. All right, let me give myself a to-do to actually document this. Here somewhere, I must. Documentation is important. But what our actions do is it takes in the slots, so the type of resource, whether it's a video, a course, or a book, the topic of the resource, whether it's machine learning, NLP, or the third one, which I don't remember what it is, but there is a third one. And it converts that text input into a query. And if one or more of the slots is and then it looks for, in our little database here, as you can see, it's not very big, it's 9 lines, but I'll add things to this in the future. So it looks for pieces of content that match both the topic, Rasa's the third one, both the topic and the format that the user asked for. And if it can't find both, then it matches the topic. And if it can't find that, then it matches the format. And if it can't find either, it's like, whoopsie, sorry, we can't find the thing that you're looking for. So that's what the action server does. And all that code is being run on a separate server. It's not part of having the conversation. It's something that can be triggered during the course of the conversation. And when we set up our Rasa X server on our DigitalOcean droplet, and that could be like any web VM thing that you want to use. We used the default Docker install, which does not set up an action server by default. So we need to do that by hand. And the reason is like what your action server is going to vary dramatically. So for example, I'm using the Rasa Python SDK, but our endpoints are documented. So if you wanted to use, another language to interact with it, you could go ahead and do that. And we like the action server is for any arbitrary code that you need to run. And what that looks like is going to vary a lot, and not everybody needs one, so it's not included by default. But we need it, so we're going to set it up. Looking at the docs. Also, the mic is in between me and the comments over here, which is why I keep going like this. So to set it up, looking at the docs, we have a section in the in the Rasa X documentation about adding a custom action server. So I am just straight up going to be following along with this guide and the documentation. And that's the plan. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to first create an action server image, right? And then we're going to need to add that into the values.yaml of our assistant. And then I'm going to need to update our GitHub repository with the new values.yaml. And then I'm going to, because my, one sec, let me just pop this over here while I check it real quick. And then because we have connected our Rasa X instance to the GitHub repository, you can see we're currently up to date with the Git server, we can then pull that change in from our GitHub repository to our Rasa X server and be good to go, and it should work. Enrique says, Docker, fingers crossed, yeah. Hello, Mirabik, welcome to the stream. All right, I'm gonna fortify myself with some coffee. I have done this before, it's been a couple months. I think Enrique was actually here for that. I am learning about Docker, and I think for me, the biggest challenge with containers is that there's a lot of words that have very similar meanings. And I find it hard to pick apart like the difference between a pod and a cluster, and I know they're different and I never remember which one's which. And I'm sure that'll just come with time. Amina says, when you connect your assistant to Rasa X, why do the domain files change? That is a good question. So when Rasa X, we can check our domain file. So you can see, I don't know, maybe you don't remember this or not, but when we first wrote our domain file, we actually had a space in between the intents and the session config. And I believe we had entities and then slots and then intents underneath it. And the reason it changes for me is because I changed what you say in the conversation. And when Rasa X updates files, it does it using sort of a default template. So it's just reorganizing things and like deleting white space. It's basically running a linter on the files before it changes it, before it uploads it. So it's going to be like the changes that you made will be there, and then there'll be some cosmetic changes with things being readjusted to fit the style guide that it's using. And you may be able to customize that, but it would be, I would have to really dig into it to figure out how to do it. Robbie says, are you paying for this in DigitalOcean? Yes, I am paying for this. It's a very small droplet, so it's not very expensive for me right now, but yes, I'm paying for it. And if it gets to be too much, I'll expense it, but this is something that like I can, once it's up and running, I intend to sort of just like have up as something that people can use to interact with me. So right now I am paying for it personally with my own money. Har says, I always set a notification but never get any. Oh no, for the stream? I'm so sorry. I don't know. YouTubers talk about ringing the bell. Maybe you have to do that and like turn on channel notifications first. I don't know. I am not very up to date on the YouTube notification system. All right, with all of that in mind, first thing we need to do is make a image for our action server. So we also have documentation for that, and this is in this is in the Rasa open source docs. So if you build an image that includes your action code and store it in a container registry, and we'll be using Docker Hub, and you can see I have the one from the dialect quiz bot that we did 8 months ago. Wow, time sure continues to move forward in one direction, huh? We actually like look into this and see what's in here. You can tell that this was in active development. So we have, you know, a bunch of Docker stuff in here. Anyway, so we've done this previously, and we'll have the same thing except for our other assistant when we follow the instructions. Enrique says, build and run enough. Oh, that you need to know for Docker. Yeah, that's helpful. All right. Where were we? Building the action server image. Okay. You can add additional dependencies of system or Python libraries that are part of your action code but not included in the base Rasa SDK image. And we're going to have to do this. And I remember that we needed to build a requirements file last time. GitHub Actions are new to you. Oh, so this is using GitHub Actions, which are in fact new to me. I don't think I have used them previously. Can I do this without using GitHub Actions? That's what I want. I want to manually build an action server. Just because I don't want to spend time setting up GitHub Actions on screen. All right. Your actions are defined in actions, actions.py. So let's double check that that is in fact what we got going on. Actions, actions.py. Fantastic. That's what we're looking for. It'll automatically look for actions in this file. So our code is where we need it to be. Step 1, check. Step 2, if your actions have any extra dependencies, create a list of them in the file. Actions requirement actions.txt, and we do in fact have those. So let's add that. Let's start a new full file. All right, and then the specific dependencies that we have, I believe these are both included by default. I don't know about random, but I'm going to import it just in case. And then we have SQLite and this third one. And they probably want us to specify version, but I don't want to. Yeah, I'm just gonna see what happens when I don't specify version. I think it'll default to the most recent one, and since I recently reinstalled everything, I think that's currently what we have. Will this create problems for me in the future? Probably. Do I care? I mean, I'll care then, but right now, not a whole bunch. I know I could use pip freeze, I just don't want to. Also, my environment uses both pip and conda, so it's an exciting collection of things. All right, so those are good to go. Now we need to create a file named Docker file in your project directory in which you'll extend the official SDK image, copy over your code, and add any custom dependencies if necessary. So let's create this Docker file. And it needs to be in this. There we go. Are you sure? A file, yeah. Can I not copy? There we go. Okay. I think I copied something weird or potentially did something else, and I have lost my window, what I was looking for. Let me see if I can pull that up. There we go. Fantastic. All right. And then we're gonna have this. All right. So, there we go. So from Rasa SDK 2.5.0, which which I never remember. Fine, I'll add the oh, I'm gonna have to remember what I called my conda environment. Ugh, I was so close. It was underscores. Space Freeze. Sorry, so what I'm doing now is, that was just a bunch of environment nonsense. So I don't have Rasa installed in my global environment. I have it installed in a Conda environment, and I had not activated it. And previously, I'd been working in a different Conda environment, and that was automatically activated whenever I opened a new shell, but that's no longer the case because I was messing around and uninstalled and reinstalled a bunch of stuff to film some content, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I should now be able to see what version of the Rasa SDK I have to make sure that it's the right one. A, B, E, R. You sure? So let's deactivate this. Activate Rasa. Maybe it has a second demo at the end? No, pip freeze is working. It's just not showing me all the things that I know are, well, this is a mystery that I don't really want to solve right now, so I'm just gonna assume that's the right one. And we'll handle that later. Oh, actually, what we could do is check in our sorry, so this is a shell where I've SSH'd into my my droplet with the virtual machine running. Mysterious. Okay, so it must not be installed with pip. Interesting. I mean, the server's up and running, so clearly it's installed on the server. And yet, so it just must not have been installed with pip. Oh, it's probably built from source. Well, regardless, I don't think it's a huge issue, so I'm just gonna keep going on, and if this is the wrong version, we'll handle errors with that later. All right, subdirectory is working directory. Change back to And we do want to add in these additional requirements. So I am going to uncomment this. And we do have additional requirements. So I'm going to uncomment that. Because it is, I would assume it's installed in pip. Maybe I'm in like the wrong. Maybe it was installed system-wide. Maybe it was installed in an environment and I don't know what the environment's called because it happened automatically. That also sounds correct. That sounds likely to me. Okay, so we have our Docker file and we've edited it as necessary. All right, you can then build the following image via the following command. Docker build. All right. Am I logged into Docker? We're about to find out. First of all, I should not do that in the VM. I should do it in the directory where it's actually happening. Yep. Docker build dot t. And I believe that I don't have a repository for this, so I'm going to call this FAQ bot personal. I think that makes sense. And then the tag, the custom image tag should reference how this image will be different from others. And actually that should not be slash, that should be a colon. And then I'm just going to call this first commit. Okay. Ah, it must be lowercase. How did I used dashes in my other one. I'm going to use that to be consistent. All right. So once that's done, I should be able to see it in my Docker Hub. It should show up as a new repository. I don't need to install SQLite. I'm sorry. I straight up forgot this is a Python built-in. It's not loaded by default, but I absolutely don't need to install that. What am I thinking? I just didn't remember. All right, let's save this, try again. All right. Folks are chatting in this chat. All good. Okay, so we are building an action server image. So we have created our action server. We are uploading it, doing the manual one. And then to actually use it, we're going to need to push it to Docker Hub. Oh, do I need to create the repository first? I think random is also a Python built-in. Building an image to make it available on another server, you should push the image to a cloud repository. Pushing to Docker Hub, push. Okay, so here I'm building, and then I'll need to push. Yes, that makes sense. And then how we reference it will depend on the deployment, and we're going to be using the adding a custom action server image. And what we'll need to do is we will need to add it to the values.yaml. First, we should get it onto the Docker Hub. Windows against non-Windows Docker host. Okay, so I think it's been built but not pushed. I'll go with my Docker Hub. Yeah, okay, so it hasn't been pushed, so I need to create the repository. You. Hi Osvaldo. Shouldn't be here while I'm working. I don't know, it's work stuff. It's just like being in an office with somebody who describes aloud all the stuff they're doing. God, can you imagine? Oof. I feel like that would be a hard person to try and work next to. Okay, so we need to create a repository, and then we're gonna push, oh, DockerCon. Yep, and I want it to be public, and I want to call it personal website bot. Rasa action server image that takes user provided slots and uses and generates runs queries based on them. All right. Go. Public is good. Push a new image to the repository using this. All right. That. Okay, a view list. All right, so then I should be able to this right away. And then the tagline, which was fixed Rex again. The image does not. Docker push Rex again. An image does not exist locally with this tag. All right. It's not that. It's yes, right? To list all the Docker images locally. I remember this well. Choo-choo. All right. Well, that's helpful, I guess. So it doesn't exist locally. So when I created it, where did it go? Okay. Built it locally. Big long tag. Dash. Long collected package. Moving. Successfully built. Successfully tagged. Oh, I have a bad feeling about this. I think that what I have tagged it is this whole thing. Yeah. All right. So no, but there was definitely like you tagged the you wrote the whole repository name when you built it. Nope, we're not there. You can build the image using the following format. Yes, we did that. It happened successfully. Create a new tag anytime you update the code, want to redeploy it. Fun. Oh, Enrique says that. And runs, the third thing you should know. Docker image ls. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, it definitely exists. Document. Thank you very much, Enrique and Amina. I appreciate it. There is a lag between me and the chat. I am not ignoring you. I just haven't seen what you were writing yet. Definitely the same format I was using before. Have I mysteriously gotten dumber since then? No, I'm sure that's not it. And I don't think there's any relationship between intelligence and being able to use Docker. That's a rant for another day. Hey, native learner. Okay. I have discovered the problem. I have figured out what the problem is. And what the problem is that this says personal website bot. And this does not say that. That says FAQ bot personal. And those are, in fact, different words. So what I'm going to do is actually build it with the right words. How's that for a plan? All right. All right, so it is actually personal website bot. And then I'm going to tag this first commit because it's actually the first commit. Okay, mystery solved. I am in fact just bad at reading accurately, which we all knew. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Native Learn says, I'm facing an issue. Hi, Mrs. Hacker. Oh, sorry, Ms. Hacker. I'm facing an issue while extracting entities, even though the tracker get latest is working fine. Ooh. I guess it, like what I would say just depends on your depends on what the issue is. And I might actually ask about it in forums. Especially if you have like you can share your code and your error message and get a little bit more detailed about what the problem is. I think it'll be a more helpful place to get information. All right, well, now that we've written the same words multiple times, now my question is, am I gonna have to remember my anything? All right. Step 1, type the same words consistently. I might have told this story on stream before, but I'm dyslexic, and when I was a kid and really struggling with spelling tests, really struggling with spelling tests, my mom, who was a programmer way back in the day, was like, hey, you know, in programming, it doesn't matter how you spell something as long as you're consistent. And that's really stuck with me. All right, there it is, live and kicking. Okay. Custom action server, check. All right, now we need to add it to our assistant. So add the image and tag you want to use in values.yaml. I do not have a values.yaml file, so let's start one, right? Unless I'm just like reading bad, which is also, as we've discussed, something that can happen to me. Yeah. Okay, values.yaml. Values, yep, YAML. Fantastic. And then I'm just gonna add this. All right, in the values.yaml, specific servings, and then the name of the action server image, which I believe, if I recall correctly, is this, includes the account name. And I remember that causing me some confusion in the past. All right, fantastic. And then the tag, which is first underscore commit, that. All right, fantastic. All right. Is there anything else that we need to do before I go through doing the whole thing? Nope, I think we should be good. Your image is stored in a private registry. It is not. It will be publicly available. All right, with that in mind, I'm going to need to commit to GitHub. There we go. All right. Action server image. And push. Oh, beans. All right, let's handle this. Right, and push. I don't think there should be any, yeah, fantastic. I was gonna say, I don't think there should be any conflicts. Remembering what we changed in our initial working with the assistant in Rasa X, and also what we did in the action server. So, and I'm up to date with the Git server, and as I was switching over, it just looks like that refreshed. So let's see if I can get the action server to go. So I'm just going to talk to my bot really quickly, and I'm going to ask, can you recommend a book about NLP? So that was right, but it looks like it didn't happen. Or rather, the action server wasn't started. I'm just thinking. Well, let's check. Might be worthwhile to update the model and train a new model. See if that helps. You know how to push as main in GitHub. I mean, I'm using the desktop app, but yes, I did just push to main. Right. So, and I have not previously done this in DigitalOcean, so definitely a learning experience for me. And I do have it. Let's see. I did have it open up here. Ooh. Would it have shown up in images, maybe? Oh no, it's something that I would need to create specifically. Okay. Interesting, interesting. Did I do it right? I don't know. I mean, we didn't get any errors, so that was good. And I'm just going to quickly pop open a little bit more information about main. I'm up to date with the Git server. I am connected. Yep, good. Done there. So I was just doing that in another window in case something popped up. Yeah. Let me, I guess, pull my GitHub repository and check that. And I'm just going to do that in another window as well, just to try and Do that. All right, new model. Let's see if I can get the action server to start. I'm just going to clear this and restart again. Can you recommend an NLP book? Query resource type. So this query resource was the correct action, and that was identified, but we're not getting output back. And just double check in the repository. Yep, we've got the Docker file. Do we have our values.yaml? Yep, we've got our values.yaml. How do I see the action server logs? That's what I'd like to know. Where are the logs in the Helm chart install? I'm not super familiar with this particular file system because it was created for us as part of the install process. I think we were just in home. My dearest hope was that it would just work and I wouldn't have to mess with the containers, but I think I'm gonna have to mess with the containers. Social media links still don't properly redirect. Oh, I thought I fixed those. I did take note. Yeah, no, I spent some time fixing them. Mysterious. I wonder if that's something that YouTube is doing. Maybe? Don't think I'm gonna be able to do. I don't think. Yeah, Rasa's installed at the top level. All right, so. Oop. Oh. No, that's the inverse of what I care about right now. Configuration domain, response, NLU inbox conversation. Beep, beep, beep. I think I'm gonna handle this later. And I think we've only got a couple minutes left, and I'm not entirely sure what to do next. So the thing that I am thinking about here is we created the Rasa X instance in our droplet, and it's still currently running. How did we do that? You know what? I'm gonna actually go back and look at the code from last week. So I'm just gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up the video in another tab and just sort of scrub through real quick. Website FAQ bot. Okay. That's the same. I guess I could pull this up so you're scrubbing through with me as well, but that feels like a weird thing. Prompt for Rasa X Community Edition. How did we get to there? All Docker. What do? Heck. We can do that way. Okay, so we install Docker and then we created the Rasa X directory. Yes. How did we do that? This all part of the same instance. Okay, so we installed everything from here, right? So we, and then we ran the install script. Then the install script ran for a really long time. Then the community edition started automatically. Okay, so we never actually interacted with it, I don't think, in the shop. I'm just looking down. Yeah, and then this isn't on the server. This is in the current directory that I'm in locally. But the changes that we made locally were definitely also made to the assistant via GitHub. So that's not the issue. Hmm. I feel like I don't have enough brain to figure this out right now. So I think what the specific problem is that I don't have a good mental model of how the file system in our server maps onto the Rasa architecture. And as a result, I don't know where to look for stuff. So the server is up and running and it's connected to GitHub and we can make changes back and forth. I don't know where the action server is running. And I think we might need to restart our assistant. Because we started the community edition, we connected to our GitHub assistant, we connected our Rasa X server to our GitHub repository. That pulled in the most recent version of the assistant. That's continuing to happen. And the big thing is I don't know where the action server logs are. And I don't know, maybe that's the best question we can ask. Maybe we can ask where the logs are for the Rasa X server in this particular configuration. Rasa X server logs. See if I can find them. How to retrieve logs from the actions. Oh, this is locally. Oh, Enrique says you installed it with Docker Compose, just CD, and it will go into root. I'm the root user. Docker Compose PS to see the Rasa X containers. And then I am not, in fact, sure I'm in the right directory. Maybe this is the right directory? Nope, also not that one. All correct configuration details, etc., are stored in Linux. It's not a folder. Yeah. And in here we have the install script that we ran, and it ran successfully because the server's up and running, and the Rasa X playbook, and then a Python script, and that's all that's in here. Maybe if I just use regular Docker, it'll... I don't know why I did that. I could have typed it in less room. Okay, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So what have we got? We have Nginx, the Rasa servers, the Rasa X servers, duckling, rabbit, Redis, and that's it. So what we don't have is an action server. Usually the Rasa setup is in etc. Rasa. Ooh, I'll try that. Okay, first type good. That's the first bit. Thank y'all for your help. Okay, and I see Rasa in here, and I see Python 3 in here. Okay. And then the logs. Aren't you supposed to run it? Maybe. But so my question is like, where do I run the action server? My impression, which could be incorrect, is that by adding it to our values, it should be spun up when we make a request to it. But I guess that's not happening. And I think there's something that I'm not understanding about this process. So in this file, can I run Rasa? No, I can't. So it's like it's not installed globally. I think a better use of our time here. I think I'm gonna ask one of the CSEs for help if they're available. Because it is clear that there is something that I'm not understanding about this process. So let me instead review some conversations because I think that will be more rewarding for me. So let's go to the inbox. That is absolutely correct. That ain't right. All right, and we should probably create a new intent for that. What's the opposite of greet? All right. That conversation context. I will do that till later. Yeah, actually, I think I'm just gonna flag this and we can handle it later. Also, I'm gonna flag this. So 2 things that we can't handle, I can see right off the bat, are people saying thank you, which is very sweet, and I did not consider that in my assistant design. So I think we need a way to handle thank you, and we need a way to handle goodbye. And this, I would actually say the intent there is incorrect, and the it's actually an FAQ, ask R versus Python, so I'm going to change that real quick. Yeah, and you can see another thing where the action was triggered, but the action server didn't happen because it wasn't there. So, ask resource, that's correct. I'll handle that later, ask resource, that's correct. That's correct. I'll tag this actually as something to handle later, as is this one. This is again somebody saying sort of like, thank you. Yeah, both of these are wrong. This should actually probably be out of scope. So add that. How do I install Rasa X? I think that makes sense to ask Rasa. What kind of soup? This is out of scope as well. What's the question? That's out of scope. That's out of scope. That's correct. That's out of scope. That's out of scope. This I think we might want to tag for later. I think that's reasonable as a I think that's reasonable as a tag. Course for NLP, that's correct. I think that's reasonable as a bot challenge. It's not what they were asking for, but I think that that makes sense to respond that they are a bot. The problem, that's right. I don't know about that. Yeah, there's a lot of like politeness stuff that we just don't have a good way for our assistant to handle. So I think one thing that would make sense for us to do going forward, I think one thing that would make a lot of sense for us to do going forward is to add chit chat to handle politeness. Add chit chat to handle polite turns. Thank you. That's a pattern that I'm seeing quite a bit that we just don't have a way to handle right now in our assistant. Yeah, like I would say that this is probably also thank you as well. That's wrong. This should be R versus Python. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. I don't know about that one. I'm going to need to see more information. That makes sense. Yep. I think we also need to do a way to handle when the bot has no response. Oh. Enrique says values.yaml should be for Helm and Kubernetes, not Docker Compose. Okay, so maybe I'm doing something wrong with Docker Compose. Okay, so I'm actually going to add that to our to-do as well. How to add image to Docker Compose. And I think, yeah, I think previously I'd used Helm and values.yaml, and this is a different way of installing your stuff. It's good. I appreciate the benefits. It is just something that I am continuing to learn about, and again, a lot of things with very similar names, like semantically similar, not necessarily like the strings overlap a lot. Yeah, I think you're probably right, Enrique. I think that's probably what's up here. And also maybe something that we should update in our documentation as well. If what is wrong is that I am wrong, is that I am following the documentation incorrectly and not that I just did something wrong. Very possible. All right, I think we can do a couple more. I know answers. Yo, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. We'll deal with that later. That's not correct. This is probably inform. That's agreed. Yes, that's agreed. Yeps. And that is also an inform. And then we also have a bunch of things that like we don't have a good a good way of handling right now, and I think we just need to expand what our assistant can do in terms of we need to expand the types of conversations that our assistant can have, because it's pretty clear that people are asking things that the assistant can't handle yet. So I think once we figure this out, the next thing is really going to be figuring out how to expand conversations and have that problem fixed. So Nico says, performing NLP? Yeah, I would say so. We're annotating training data, and we've also been working on Docker Compose stuff, and I think I just need to tag in somebody from the Rasa team who's more informed about that than I am. All right. Enrique says you can run all together, adding to dockercompose.yaml file. Is that a YAML file that's in here? Actually, you know what? This is probably the easiest thing to do. So I'm just printing out this. Oh, zip.py. Okay, has been installed. Look. Docker and serves Rasa X. Something tells me that this was written by one of my German-speaking colleagues using my skilled linguistics detection knowledge. Playbook. So I know what some of these words mean. I don't know what an Ansible is. I know what it is in like it's like a glass flask for distilling, right? Isn't that what an Ansible is? Open source software provisioning, configuration management, and application development deployment tool, enabling infrastructure as code. Cool. Oh, and in other words, like the other meaning of Ansible is a category of fictional devices or technology capable of near instantaneous or faster than light communication. Fun. Okay, so it is not, in fact, what I thought at all. I think I'm conflating it with Crucible. I think that's what I'm doing. Fascinating. Okay, anyway. Enrique says, Ansible Playbook automates everything. Not that easy. Pedro says, thanks for the attention video series. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my colleague Vincent put those together. They're really helpful. All right. So I think I'm just gonna need to tag in somebody else. Because previously I'd done this doing Helm, and I think I am have quickly surpassed the limits of my personal Docker knowledge. So we'll handle that in the future. And I think what makes sense for me to do now is push all the changes that we made to our training data, and yeah, come back to this after I've begged for help. All right, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope this was at least entertaining, if not helpful. And we will be back next week, next Wednesday, for office hours with one of my fantastic colleagues. If you are interested, we have tickets are available now for L3 AI, which is our free online conference about building conversational AI. And that will be in June, I believe. If you search L3 AI, you should be able to find it. And also next Thursday, we have our release notes webinar where the team and people who worked on various parts of the latest Rasa release will talk about what's in there, and you'll be able to ask questions. And you'll need to sign up if you want to be part part of the live presentation, it'll be on Zoom. Or if you would prefer just to wait for the video to come out, it'll be out on our website, our YouTube channel as well. And I think that's all the announcements that we have right now. If you're interested in speaking at L3AI, we also have some speaker slots open. So if you got something to say about conversational AI, or maybe like the newbie's guide to the Docker Compose, I would appreciate that as a talk. Head over, again, same website, and just scroll down a bit, and there's applications for speakers. All right. Thanks so much for joining today, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you on Wednesday.